If you could give a piece of advice to someone your age about the value of reaching out, making the first move to someone who intrigues them, what would be your words of advice?
Just ignore that inner feeling of, hey, maybe they don't have something to say or they're not good enough to say something, just to go and do it. Because regardless of who anybody is, you may learn something from them. And that might bring up a whole other relationship that you probably couldn't live without.
I'm so delighted to be talking to my friend Ashlyn Harris, who is a relatively new friend. And we're going to talk about the obvious, which is our age difference. Golly, Ashlyn, you tell me, darling, 33?
35.
35,
Yes.
35, and I'm 74. So we are 39 years apart in age,
Oh, geez.
right? Ashlyn has been helping me with graphic design projects and anything technical we're trying to do right now. And just in the process, we've really enjoyed being around each other and talking. A lot of our conversations have just to do with life. And we've realized how refreshing it is to not be noticing how different we are, not just our ages, but look at us. I mean, we're very different women. And we wonder how many of us get to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah.
So, Ashley, let me ask you, when we first met, what surprised you when we first met?
I think what surprised me the most is our age difference, and then what surprised me next is how in-depth our conversations went, and, like, we had very similar thought processes even though there's the age difference, for sure. I think that was the biggest
Right.
thing. It's like, "Oh, we have a lot in
Yes.
common. We think very similar," kinda thing.
Would you have guessed that?
No.
Me neither. So, this is a perfect example for us to recommend that maybe we do this to ourselves. Maybe we limit ourselves in conversations. I was in a yoga class this morning and there were 5 young women that were new to the class that all knew how to do yoga. And I really didn't think of saying anything until the very last minute. And then I said, hello, and are you from out of town? And are you visiting? And they responded. And the benefactor of that was me. I don't know that they benefited from talking to me as much as I benefited from reaching out to them. Ashlyn, what do you think that is? Why do you think we don't necessarily reach out and talk to people of very different ages from us?
Feel like talking to people in general is pretty intimidating, and then adding on the layer of that differentiality of ages and, like, even races. Sometimes it's like, oh, they're not I'm gonna be a little shy when it comes to talking with people. And I think it's just I don't know where that comes from per se, but I guess it's just maybe just too different. Maybe they're a little bit scared of maybe judgment or something? I'm not really sure. I think it's just intimidation for sure.
It seems real. And that's kind of why I wanted to have this conversation. And I'm not saying it isn't real. I'm not saying it isn't a real thing for us to notice. I'm just asking, what if we could move beyond it somehow in our thinking? For example, Ashlyn, if I hadn't met the lovely woman who introduced us, Morgan,
But
if
yeah.
if Morgan hadn't introduced us, then we would never be having this conversation, and I feel like you have brought so much value to my life, not just with your skill set, that's been wonderful, but the human being you are is such a wise, lovely, funny, smart, kind
No.
person that I get to be around, and that enhances my world. And yet, we might have never met if someone wouldn't have connected us. And if, when we first met, if one of us would have thought, oh, well, we're too different in age or
Right.
preconceived ideas, we could have stopped this from ever blossoming.
Or even the thought of, like, if we were to run into each other without that middle person to connect us, if we would have connected on even that level because of the differences, because you think that people won't relate to you. So it's like, oh, well, they're not going to get it. So I'm just not going to even jump into that conversation.
What is that voice? It's coming from somewhere. That voice is coming from what? Fear?
Maybe a little bit of fear, maybe maybe there's that want of being understood, but then I guess being afraid that somebody's not gonna understand you whenever you speak to them about a certain topic, maybe? I
And
think that that's really where it kinda stems from for me.
and that's valid, but whether it's valid or not, it stops us.
Mhm.
And you and I didn't have
Mm.
that, fortunately. I don't even know how long I've known you now, but it seems like a long time, and I really look forward to a long time more. I like getting to know you, and I like what you bring to my life, but I wouldn't have known any of that if my preconceived fears would have stepped up.
Do you think that even it has something to do with, self-esteem too? The way that we think about ourselves, the way we perceive to others might have something to do with it as well?
Sure. Sure. We're 40 years apart in age, and self esteem is still a factor in my world. I'm trying to remember when I was 35, and I had no idea what this would be like to be my age. No idea. Because when my grandmother was this age, she was really old, and I don't feel old like my grandmother was. I'm old, but I'm still really engaged in my life. I don't know what the word retirement means. I'm engaged in a brand new part of my life, and maybe that's part of why I don't feel old like that, because I'm being forced to learn so much so quickly. What
Mm.
hit some the thought came to your mind just then? What was I saw that thought go right across your forehead.
Well, because I was thinking of what you're saying, and it seems like a lot of even for you, because I know that for you, it's easy to kinda talk to people with different age ranges. But it also comes with a level of, self-awareness too, because you personally don't feel that age gap, so then therefore you're able to communicate with other people. And then maybe somebody like me, if they're 30, 35, or whatever, they feel like talking to somebody who's older, they have so much more experience. This, "I have nothing to give to them" kind of mindset is what you were saying made me think of.
Do you feel that way?
Sometimes I feel like I have a lot of life to live and a lot more to learn. So then I feel like, like imposter syndrome kind of thing of, oh, I'm not at that level of another person. I think it's even kind of similar in a sense to different financial brackets as well, or even professional brackets, talking to somebody who's like in the higher rankings of a career or something like that, and you feel like, "Oh, I'm lower in that span," so it's a little bit harder to talk to people like that. That's what crossed my brain when you said that.
The example you just gave of people in a financial or, yeah, in a very different background than me, that would be hard for me. It's almost like speaking a different language
Mhm.
to a person from another country. But you have huge skills and you're a very, I think, well-rounded human being in that
Thank
you're
you.
not shy in that way that feels standoffish,
Thank you. I
right?
I I don't realize it. I'm just here. I'm
Well,
chilling.
if you could give a piece of advice to someone your age about the value of reaching out, making the first move to someone that they run across who in some way intrigues them, what would be your words of advice?
Just ignore that inner feeling of, "Hey, I don't maybe they don't have something to say or they're not good enough to say something," just to go and do it. Because regardless of who anybody is, you may learn something from them, and that might bring up a whole other relationship that you probably couldn't live without. You might grow as a person, and I think it's valuable to just try. Just try it.
You mentioned something a minute ago, imposter syndrome, and that's like a buzzword these days. And my My question to you is, I'm not so sure it's even a real thing outside
Interest
of the fact that we all have it. So if
mm,
we all have it, how is it a thing we have to talk about? Why don't we just admit there's a point in all of our lives where we feel like we're faking it or we're like somebody's going to find out we're not as good as we think we are at something. And what if that is never really going to happen? You go, you're right. I'm working on this. I mean, it's almost like it bursts the bubble the minute you think about it. I'm not sure imposter syndrome is something we need to be concerned about. Do I have that backwards?
I think that it kinda gives a name to what that feeling is. it's definitely something that a lot of people feel. I think it's very, very common, but I think that it also just gives a name for everybody to be kind of on the same page of what that feeling is per
Well, it's
se.
just insecurity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just feeling insecure about something, is it not? What am I missing?
Hmm. I always associated imposter syndrome with ability to do something, and I feel like I always associated low self-esteem or confidence with myself and the way that I am perceived to the world. So then I would think imposter syndrome is related to my ability to design or my ability to do a certain type of work or something like art or something would be more of my imposter syndrome mentality. And then I think confidence and self-esteem would be me as a person. That's the way I always differentiated it.
So, if the skill sets you just mentioned were more evolved, it would stand to reason imposter syndrome would dissipate. So, if you
Yeah,
become better as an artist, there's less imposter syndrome. So, what does that
in
say?
theory.
It just means you're a beginner. And the better you get at something, this podcast, for example, I'm a beginner at that. I don't feel imposter syndrome. I'm a beginner.
Interesting.
What am I missing about that?
Hmm. I think imposter syndrome comes from also delivering. Like, I think I wouldn't feel imposter syndrome if I were to just paint a picture and I'm still learning or in a class or something like that. I think it's more of like in the realm of fake it till you make it kind of space. So if I'm going after like this big promotion and I don't feel completely ready for that big promotion, but I'm still going for it anyway, I would feel imposter syndrome within my skill to get to that promotion, even though, sure, I'm a beginner within myself. But if I'm trying to go out to something bigger, I feel like it would be imposter syndrome. That's the
I
least,
see what you're getting at. And
but I've never actually had to sit with it to
yeah,
explain it. So I'm not,
that's what I want you to sit on it and I want you to,
mhm.
define it
I see what
because
you're
to
doing
me,
there.
it feels like it's a cop out
Yeah. Yeah. Because I
and it
mean,
may not be.
in theory, everybody is growing and learning and may not be checklist of all the things. So then in retrospect, everybody is quote unquote not good enough, but for lack of better words.
A beginner.
Yeah.
We're always beginning, and if you're growing, it's like right now, if I go, "Oh, I have imposter syndrome." No, I'm just a beginner and I'm awful at this, but I won't always be a beginner and I won't always be awful at this. So,
Hmm.
I don't feel like I'm an imposter, I just feel inept.
Yeah. That's true. It's like, hey, I'm a beginner at it. That's just it.
I'm just a
Hmm.
beginner. I think it's just become a buzzword that lately I've heard it used so much, and we kinda went on a tangent there. I took us on a tangent, but I meant to.
Mm. See, I see what you're
I meant to
doing.
do it. It was my imposter syndrome talking.
I feel it.
I wanna thank you so much for being on our show today,
Yes.
and if you are interested in learning more about Ashlyn, you can find her website that she will be developing as soon as she's over imposter syndrome.
For real.